You can't handle a little talk? Your feelings are hurt? You don't want to fight.
Whoa.
You don't want to fight.
Wait, Jake Paul. I'm the man of my word.
Come to daddy.
I'm here.
Come to daddy.
I'm in your country.
Jake Paul just threw a major tantrum after a training session went completely sideways. He had a total meltdown and decided to blame everyone but himself. Sparring partners, trainers, coaches, you name it. It's like he expects them to sugarcoat his lackluster performance. But let's be real, if you're terrible at something, no amount of sweet talking is going to change that. So instead of taking responsibility, Jake went on a rampage, breaking stuff left and right. The truth is, the only person at fault here is Jake himself. But hey, you gotta know that everything has a beginning, even Jake Paul's epic meltdown. So, no doubt, Jake was riding high after his stunning victory against Mike Perry on July 20th, 2024. The guy was on cloud nine, especially after clinching the win by TKO in the 6th round. Jake was practically glowing, basking in his newfound glory. His confidence was through the roof. He couldn't wipe that grin off his face, knowing he'd just added another notch to his growing boxing record.
And you know, I told you exactly what was going to happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Connor, like after I up Mike Perry, then you're next.
But oh boy, did the celebrations come crashing down fast. Critics started circling like vultures, questioning the legitimacy of Jake's win. They weren't buying the whole TKO thing, not one bit. To them, the victory felt way too convenient, too easy. It reeked of something fishy. This wasn't Jake's first rodeo with controversy, but this particular match? It lit a bonfire of skepticism. Skeptics dove deep into Jake's past TKOs, peeling back the layers to see if there was a pattern. And guess what? They found something unusual. A disproportionate number of his wins ended in TKOs. Cue the raised eyebrows and heated debates. How could it be that so many of Jake's matches ended with the ref stepping in? It seemed almost orchestrated, like the outcomes were being manipulated. And at the heart of this whole drama is the role of the referee. See, TKOs, or technical knockouts, are unique because they rely heavily on the ref's judgment. When a ref steps in to stop a fight, it's usually to protect a boxer from getting seriously hurt. They jump in if they think a boxer can't defend themselves properly, or if continuing the match is just too risky for their health. But here's the kicker. This decision is super subjective and can sometimes stir up a whole lot of controversy. And after all this, Jake and his brother Logan has this to say.
Victoriously, I think people are going to try to discredit us. And people are still saying the same thing, like, well, he hasn't fought a real boxer yet. But in my head, I'm like, well, didn't you beat 2 boxers
in a row in the first round
with winning records?
Yes.
Take Jake Paul's recent victory over Mike Perry on July 20th, 2024. In the 6th round, the ref called a halt to the match, giving Jake a TKO victory. Boom. Instant debate. Critics were up in arms, saying Perry could still defend himself and that the stoppage was way too early. These kinds of interventions, while meant to keep fighters safe, can seem unfair if they're not clearly justified. And this gray area, it's what's fueling all those whispers about possible bias or even foul play, especially in high-profile matches involving big names like Jake Paul.
In the first round.
With winning records?
Yes. One was 17-2 and one was 10-1. And looking in the comments, they're like, he still hasn't fought a real boxer. It's like, you guys are idiots.
When you look closer at Jake's fight history, a curious pattern pops up. A significant chunk of his wins have been via TKOs rather than clean knockouts. This pattern was raising all sorts of red flags. Observers note that in Jake's bouts against guys like Ben Askren on April 17, 2021, and Tyron Woodley on December 18, 2021, the stoppages were just as contentious. Critics argue that these frequent TKO wins hint at a bigger issue. Either Jake's opponents are being unfairly judged as unable to continue, or there's some external influence swaying the ref's decisions. This flood of TKO victories hasn't gone unnoticed by the public either. Boxing fans and commentators are growing increasingly skeptical of Jake's success. The narrative that his wins might not be entirely legit is gaining traction, casting a shadow over his entire boxing career. Social media is ablaze with debates and conspiracy theories suggesting that Jake's fame and influence could be playing a part in these outcomes. Jake Paul's reaction to all this is frustration and anger, plain and simple. He believes his victories come from hard work and dedication, not from any referee BS or shady dealings.
Perry looks different in this fight, so it's gotta be rigged. No way he would do this. This is impossible that Jake beat this. It's like, oh.
frustrated.
Hey, they're allowed on the road. This is scary.
After his win against Perry, Jake took to social media to vent his frustrations. In an Instagram live session on July 21st, 2024, he ranted, "I'm tired of people saying my wins aren't real. I train hard, I fight hard, and I win fair and square. These haters don't see the hours I put in the gym." But despite his protests, the criticism seems to have really gotten under his skin. His so-called hard-earned victories feel overshadowed by constant doubt and scrutiny. It's not just his fans he's trying to convince. It's the entire boxing community. During a post-fight interview with ESPN, Jake's frustration was clear. He said, "It's like no matter what I do, people will always find something to criticize. If I win by KO, they'll say it was luck. If it's a TKO, they say the ref was biased. What more do I have to do to prove myself?" And then there are the ongoing accusations of referee bias. The idea that refs might be swayed by Jake's celebrity status just won't go away. Critics argue that in high-profile matches, refs might be more cautious and quicker to stop fights to avoid the backlash of letting a famous fighter get seriously hurt. This perceived bias, it undermines the integrity of Jake's wins and pours more fuel on the fire of skepticism. Jake's been adamant in denying any such influence, insisting that his victories are based on merit alone. And after hearing all that, our poor kid got disheartened, but instead of crying, he made everyone else want to cry. Jake Paul's recent training session can only be described as a perfect storm of misfortune and frustration. On July 25th, 2024, he walked into the gym, pumped for a high-intensity sparring session, but from the get-go, it was clear things were going to go off the rails. Sensing Jake's off day, his sparring partner didn't hesitate. Usually, Jakey would hold his own, but today, he was taking hit after hit. His partner's punches were landing with pinpoint accuracy, each one a jab to Jake's dwindling confidence. It was clear his partner was having the time of his life, while Jake was left to take the brunt of it, feeling more demoralized with each blow. As if his performance issues weren't enough, Jake had to deal with some seriously annoying equipment malfunctions. His left glove just wouldn't stay put. It kept feeling loose, causing multiple interruptions. Every time he had to stop and adjust it, his focus and rhythm were shattered. It was like even his gear was out to get him, constantly reminding him that nothing was going right. And then there was the shoulder. He already told about his poor shoulder.
My arms are sore today from all the punches and
A lingering injury from a previous fight of Mike Perry decided to flare up right in the middle of the sparring match. Each jab, each hook sent a sharp jolt of pain through his shoulder, making it nearly impossible to throw punches with his usual power and precision. The pain was a constant nagging presence, adding another layer to his already sky-high frustration. This wasn't just a bad day, it was a major blow to Jake's confidence. Each piece of the session, from the malfunctioning equipment to the physical pain and environmental chaos, played a part in creating a scenario where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. For Jake Paul, it was a day that tested his resilience and determination to the max, leaving him frustrated and downright angry. Throughout this disastrous session, Jake's emotions were all over the place. Each missed punch and misstep made it harder to stay composed. The constant interruptions from his loose glove were like nails on a chalkboard, each one eroding his focus and patience. The shoulder pain was a relentless reminder of his physical limitations, sapping his strength and resolve. But perhaps the most demoralizing part was his sparring partner's dominance. Each hit was a blow to his ego, making him feel increasingly helpless. It was like his partner had turned into an unbeatable force and Jake was just along for the painful ride. Jake's trainer, famous for his no-nonsense approach, didn't hold back. Every missed punch or stumble was met with sharp criticism. "Your footwork is sloppy. Those punches lack power. You're not focused, Jake." It was like a machine gun of critiques, with zero room for any positive reinforcement. For Jake, these words stung hard. They were constant reminders of his shortcomings, not encouragement to get better. The harsh tone and never-ending stream of feedback made it tough for him to see any progress, no matter how small. Amid all this mental chaos, Jake struggled to push through the drills and exercises. His sharp, precise movements became sluggish and hesitant. The mental fatigue started showing physically, slowing his reactions and dulling his instincts. Each session left him more drained than the last, the weight of expectations pressing down harder and harder. It was clear that the criticism was hitting not just his body, but his mind too. The breaking point came during a particularly brutal sparring session. Weeks of pent-up frustration finally boiled over, each critical comment from his trainer adding to the pressure cooker. On this day, nothing seemed to go right. His punches lacked their usual snap. His footwork was all over the place. And his sparring partner was having a field day. The trainer's critiques were relentless, each one landing like a punch to Jake's already bruised confidence. Well, as we know, training sessions are crucial for any athlete. But for a boxer like Jake Paul, they're everything. These sessions are the backbone of his preparation, ensuring he's in top physical and mental shape for his fights. Physical preparation is about building endurance, strength, and agility. Each drill, each repetition pushes the body to its limits, making sure that when Jake steps into the ring, he's ready for anything his opponent throws at him. But hey, there was no need for Jake to start abusing his coaches. It's clear that the mistakes are on his part, not theirs. But what else can we expect from him except brash talk and ill manners? If you're as fed up with this version of Jake as we are, leave your thoughts below. Let's hear what you've got to say.